Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. We're back.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. And we're glad to be back.
Yes, we are.
Um, so, I don't know, I guess we're waiting to see who's going to come in before we get
We,
started.
well, we could talk about what we're going to talk about. Let me clear you up here. He
Thank you.
just had his breakfast here. Come here, honey. Come here. Let me look at you. I have to examine his face. You're good. Yeah.
My mama wife.
Yes, ma'am. I am his mama wife. So, yeah. We're
My-
going to talk about what we learned
yes, what we learned and
and enjoyed in South
how
Africa
we enjoyed it very much and being real
and using that as a tool to get us back there,
to
too.
get us back there.
Yes, so we're just going to share a little bit of information, things that we learned. Um, that we can use and you guys perhaps can use too. And you can always like our channel right now.
Subscribe,
Yes.
leave a comment,
Yes.
and there should be a link at the bottom of the page to take you to our channels.
And if there's anything that you want to ask us in those comments or anything that you would like to see us do in our future broadcasts,
Feel free to ask us.
yes. Yes. We would love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So today is a beautiful day. And every time I see these videos that we're going to be showing, it brings back such wonderful memories. And it's just a few months ago, but we're gearing up right now for this year again. Hopefully that we will be there soon
Right.
and trying to make sure that we cross all of our T's and
Dot our eyes.
yes, because every time that we feel like we are going to make this trip now, there's things that we must accomplish, to be able to meet our goals. So we're making up these checklists and questions that we didn't ask before. We're asking them now because
Hard questions.
yeah, hard questions and
Yeah.
good questions,
Yeah.
just that things that you should know, especially at our age now, we are transitioning into another lifestyle, and it's good to know what you're
Right.
getting into. Good to know the people, the politics, the culture, and then also find out what's best for your family. Because that's really important in your lifestyle and where you are.
Right.
For young people, there's one set of things they could be doing for children, and then for us as being elders, going into our elder age, even though we have a lot that we want to do, we also need to exercise that with caution, and we're going to try to finish those things and run our race the best that we can, and just do that. So I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's get started.
Let's get started.
I
And
empty room so they have to catch it
yeah,
on the end.
right. Well, we'll always have the video there, so
Right.
it'll be available.
Mhm.
Yeah. So things that we learned in South Africa, we're going to first start off with showing you some of our flights and our information, how we started on this trip. Show you a little bit of footage, and then we'll make some comments. And if anybody wants to ask questions, planning for this trip, we probably took about 6 months.
Yes.
6 months of planning and preparation, and we thought we had a lot of material, which we did. We had good material, we had good information sources directly from South Africa that we were in contact with because we were choosing at first to travel a different route. And then, as we said before, the travel became group. The group went from 2 to 6, 6 to 8, ended up being 14.
Right.
So, the transitions were happening, and that can happen a lot of times to anyone. We were joyful and gladful and blessed that all of our family members and our immediate family made it for us because we were able to take 3 generations.
Actually made it easier.
Yeah, and all of us had a to-do list, a checklist of things that we wanted to do as adult families that our son and our daughter had with their families and her parents as well. We had checklists, some things we needed to do, what we wanted to do. And I think it was a pretty good mix because everybody got a chance to indulge in those, don't you think?
Yeah, it was. I think the thing that made it easier traveling to Africa, because we've never been there before, was the fact that our whole family was with us. We fed off of each other's energy,
Yes.
and it made it an exciting trip that we were very much anticipating.
And one of the questions we were asked is, can you fly directly to South Africa from the U.S.? There's different ways you can fly. Yes, we flew from Las Vegas to Atlanta,
Yes.
and then Atlanta we took, was it Delta?
Yeah. Delta from Las Vegas to Atlanta, then Virgin Atlantic to Africa.
To Africa. And, and on that voyage, my husband, as you can see, he tracked
I did.
out. He's the navigation guy, even though he wasn't driving in the driver's seat. Thank goodness. He wasn't the pilot, but the whole trip, plotting out and showing you that information as we were flying. He was, showing us our path. It was quite pleasing, though, to see how far you're going, what you're actually crossing over. To fly 22 hours is a long time.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. So we didn't fly 22 straight. We had, was it 5 hours?
5 hours from Las Vegas to Atlanta,
Yes.
and then another 15 or 16 hours from Atlanta to Johannesburg, South Africa.
And you can do that with New York, JFK, and there's other places I'm sure too, but those were the places we were looking into and to make this voyage. It was exciting. The anticipation was there. On the plane, we had good seats, I feel, and I think the whole plane ride was wonderful because we were tracking, our time. We were excited. I think for me, I didn't sleep a lot. I don't know.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it wasn't that it was just so much uncomfortable. There was a lot of anticipation.
Yes.
Lots of
Our
anticipation.
adrenaline was flowing.
Yeah, and we were doing like a mini fast. We had been fasting already 9 days prior.
Right.
We decided to continue that fast with other than nuts and fruit, dried snacks, nuts and fruit, to sustain us in water until we got there. That was our choice because we had, started this before we left. We wanted to be in good shape and we wanted to be mentally, physically, and spiritually ready for whatever was coming. And so
We were.
yeah, we were, and again, you think about things like that when you're in trips and you see people sometimes, I wasn't worried about the food on the plane. I'll be honest with you. It was not up to par as far as I was concerned.
It wasn't.
But I wasn't really worried about the food. It was just, a flight. And so that's something that you can always consider doing is bringing, when I say bringing, because you can't bring anything past, the TSA, but once you're in that airport,
Right.
if there is something that's live that you can snack on, that you can put on the plane and put it in your over bag, it would be good to do because a lot of times, and especially if you're traveling with families, your children, a lot of this food, if you're culturally not ready for it or you want to be able to stay healthy, our goal was to stay healthy. So when we stopped in the airport, I got apples and bananas, things, and we didn't even eat those. I gave those to the children,
Right.
our grandkids. But you want to be able to, you don't want to arrive somewhere and you've done all of this work and then arrive there sick.
Right.
That's going to be one of your worst feelings in the world.
That'd be a bummer.
To drive there, to arrive and say, oh, guess what? I'm not on any medication, but I didn't want to be on medication. I do have blood pressure medication if I needed it, but I never take it because I monitor it, but I didn't want it to be one of those times
Right.
where I actually needed it because of whatever is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, on the flight, you're never going to be sure
Right.
what you're going to get.
That's right.
Like
Forrest Gump, life is like a bowl of chocolates.
Yes.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And a question somebody was asking, and I'm asking myself, because we're here in Las Vegas, and a lot of people are leaving, not just Vegas, but a lot of the states in the U.S., and they're leaving and moving away from Las Vegas. And one of the destination places is Africa.
Yes.
Not just South Africa, but Ghana, any other places. And it's a big push from the year of return.
Right.
So there's a lot of people moving from the year of return.
Right.
And they're now beyond the year of return, and this is why they're going back. Because we're finding a lot of things that, we just weren't told and we weren't allowed to look at things. And then culturally from YouTube and other places,
Right.
we're finding out there's so much we miss. And we're all now excited to say, let's, even if you don't want to make it your home, you need to, I feel I owe it to myself and our children. And I don't know how my husband feels. I'm going to ask him because he's right here. How do you feel? Why is it that you're choosing to, even if not move, to dive into the culture?
The African continent is a part of me. I can't.
That you didn't really.
Right. That I never knew about.
You knew about it.
Well, what I'm
Let's
saying.
say we knew about it, but
Right. What I'm saying is that.
we didn't acknowledge it.
Right. We didn't acknowledge it. We didn't acknowledge it in our own
In the
culture.
fullness.
Right. Being Africans in America.
Right.
We didn't acknowledge Africa.
Right.
So.
In the fullness.
Right.
I think we acknowledged it because, here ceremonially, we are, as you say, we've been doing what we've been told.
Right.
We squeezed 29 days out of the year into Black history, which I hate to coin that phrase, Black history. There's no such thing as 30 days of Black history for me. History of me being in Africa, African in America, is going on every day.
Every day.
So it doesn't exist for me. And even though I was a certified business owner, preschool director and owner, and the teacher of teachers, I would say that, that phrase has always irritated me. I didn't teach history for 29 days out of the year for my children
That's
there.
right.
And that's something that that my business is based on. We based it on teaching them their culture and history as much as possible every day of the week. But unfortunately, there was not a lot to grab from other than starting from slavery,
Right.
which, I appreciated all of the efforts of those ancestors. But the thing was, the connection was never made.
Mm-mm,
The
it's not.
connection was never made
Yeah.
about the ancestors from
Right.
the ancestors. Where did these ancestors come from?
Right.
The transatlantic slave.
Right.
We never heard about that.
No,
I
we
mean, even
didn't.
though it was never in our history books, it was never in anything other than, we coined the phrase again, soul food,
Right.
soul. And the word soul for me is actually soul.
Right.
Because our ancestors put their heart and soul into that food.
They did.
I mean, the word gumbo, I never knew that the gumbo, it was significant from okra, and okra comes from Africa. And
Okay.
these are some of the seeds that they would carry over.
Right.
You learn so much, and now
How they would
I'm
carry it. The women would put seeds in their hair.
and their necklace
the
braids,
necklace,
they
right.
put it into their clothing. We learn so much now, and how much was sacrificed, but at the same time, knowing that our ancestors were kings and queens prior to being enslaved, and the reasons for this. And so, I think a lot of the youth now, we look, and I think that that's what's missing is we say nothing. We don't need culture, but that's easy for someone to say that you have your culture.
Right.
It's easy to say that, just disregard that. But when you haven't had your culture, it leaves you wanting and also mirroring other cultures.
Right.
And I think there's a room on this planet, especially since Africa is the cradle of life,
Right.
the originator of mankind, that culture should be honored in every way.
It should be.
And so, that's not a mission that's new for us. We're just taking up this mission now again because we have generations that we're still being, now the grands, the elders, that we want to make sure that we pass down the right information,
That's correct. Yeah.
the right information, not incorrect information, not falsified, not by what the news says, but what we know,
Right.
and also what our children and our grandchildren have experienced. So what we've learned in Africa, it starts from the beginning of taking off on that plane. The feeling. Can you describe that feeling?
Once I knew the plane was coming over African territory, African continent, it was for me it was like I really can't believe we're here on the continent. I can't believe I'm in Africa. All my life I wondered about Africa. We've seen movies of King Kong in Africa, and that narrative is.
We
I'm not
already
even
understand.
going
Yeah,
into that.
we
but-
understand. Yeah.
So they've always made Africa a dark continent. The news outlets,
Pygmies.
pygmies,
Eating people.
witchcraft, voodoo, children with flies on them, and
Drinking blood from the goats
right,
for no
just
reason.
barbaric image of Africa, and all the time they were there pillaging Africa.
Well, barbaric practices, and tribalism and cultural is so different. We look and we don't. It's easy, and I see a lot of wonderful National Geographics that other people go and explore us, and that's wonderful. I respect the time that people have taken to notice, but it's time for us to notice ourselves.
Yes.
And take that time to dive in deep, dig deep into your culture. No one has the right to do that more than yourself. And no one can do it for you
Exactly.
but you. And
Exactly.
so this trip was all about self-awareness for us, self-awareness. And this is why I would say why people are moving away from Las Vegas.
Right.
I would say
if
you're moving away, whether you're going to Jamaica or whether you're going to
Barbados,
the Caribbean, Brazil, all of these are Africans in the UK that are looking to seek more. It's the equality, and it's not a shameness. It should be with a proudness.
Yes,
To say
I
that
agree.
I'm seeking no more than how we look and we say if you're looking for your real parents. Say you were adopted,
Right.
and you have a right to that lineage to find out, and that lineage is your lineage
Exactly.
to pass on to
Yep.
your children. That's
Right.
part of your genetics.
Mhm.
So I think everyone is excited, and I am deeply excited about
Very,
that.
very
to be able
excited.
I do say that I did write a book 20 some years ago, and that book is now published, Logos to Africa. Of course, my name is Lolanda, acronym short for Lo. And look at this right here. We're greeting people in the airport, and this was a wonderful thing because these people were so wonderful. They called my husband
Elder.
the
King,
elder, the elder
king.
king,
Right.
and they said, "You're the eldest. You know, we're the eldest, and we were the eldest."
And you were the elder
Elder
queen. Right.
And he was tagging with me, trying to take my bag, and I was so confused at the time because he was, offering the services, and he was like, "Let me take it," and I'm like, "No, well, no," and he was like, "No, no, 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 you're the elder. You don't have to do this." The respect was overwhelming,
Overwhelming.
and of course, culturally, I'm not understanding it.
Right.
And,
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, and we were tussling for a minute.
Because we don't interact with each other here in America as black on black people with each other, showing that respect.
Right.
We don't.
And also, who has ever did anything like that to you? To
Right.
fight over your luggage and the fight over your position as the elder, to let me take grand care of you.
Right.
We were greeted with this.
Yes, we were.
These people were not paid to say, "Hey, let's go and do this
Right.
for them."
This show respect to you, to you coming in the airport. They don't know you from Adam or Eve.
And as you can see, my family consists of racial. We're all colors, and we always have been. And people were respectful.
Just let them listen to some of
Yes.
that exchange.
That was amazing. Yeah, and I get that feeling when I see it every time. It's like, I really didn't know what to expect. I was just confused for a moment, like, wow,
Right.
why you're here and you're nice, but why are you nice?
All right, exactly. So we're gonna let the audience listen to a little bit of that clip,
Yeah.
and it's
You're a lady. You're supposed to be handled with care. Okay.
I know.
Just take your
get that up.
necessary.
Now, this one is my necessary.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that back. Yes. Hi.
You know when you come out, I tell my brother over there, I say they look like the Jacksons. They are the Jacksons.
And we're the
And I was right.
And we're the Coopers.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Coopers.
Yeah.
Coopers, that's my daughter, that's the Jackson,
Oh.
that's my son.
Oh yeah.
So we just looked at all of it one night. So we're Jackson.
I'm with
Okay, we have arrived in South Africa. We're here as a group and a family. All right.
Yeah, in some South African.
All right.
Jacksons.
All righty.
Because you're not ready mentally, and the response, because again, we don't have people making over us in the airport
We
just
don't.
to take our baggage, and we've traveled many places out of the countries.
In fact, there's a point. When we go to Harry Reid International Airport, there's African American baggage people there.
Absolutely, even with them, it's
They
usually-
don't even see you.
No, it's
And you're-
it's dry, it's
right.
cut. And I'm not saying everywhere in Africa you're going to get the same thing, but for us, that greeting was phenomenal.
Yes.
It was phenomenal, not just.
I almost
for
felt
me.
embarrassed.
Yeah, because you know what, we're so, we've distanced ourselves from so many things because we see so much negativity, and you hear so much negativity. But for me, that was the take all right there, just
Right.
the beginning of these people. We had, I think, 6 or 7 people taking our luggage
Yes.
to our vehicles,
Right.
our courtesy vehicles, and to get us situated. But it was the greeting was wonderful from people, and I think everyone from the small. Seeing is believing.
He's taking all the good.
So let me go back to that for a second because I wanted to see the interaction.
And I had a preschool, and I finally had it to come to completion. It's on sale, it's been there. But I didn't come for that, I came because I wanted to show my children and grandchildren now their heritage.
Is it possible that you can catch up?
We can. Seeing is believing.
He's taking all the good memories.
The YouTubers.
He's YouTube.
Yep.
You mean he's sharing us on
Yes.
social-
So we had to tell them that we were YouTubers, and so they were kind of surprised with that. I
Yeah,
went-
probably seen us as seniors too. You know, the documenting of this trip was so necessary. Yeah, there's never enough words that we could express, and if our children and our grandchildren weren't there. And when we're, when we're with our own ancestors, this will be something that's so memorable. The fact that we did make that trip, because even talking to the grandkids and telling them about it, it's something now that they can't stop talking about. And our youngest,
That's what's more touching.
yeah, Journey and Harlow, the smallest two little girls, they've been saying, when are we going to go back to Africa? And they are already ready. That's Journey there with me.
Where's my page? Where's my nice page? This is the one. That's the money page. That's the money page. Look at orange. Yeah.
Look at that.
When are we going to Let's take this
Yeah, I'll take this. Yeah.
And when we travel with our daughter and our son-in-law, we always go top flight. That's where they fix the trips and we go along, and we're
Right.
wonderful and gracious. But from Cabos to the Bahamas, they
don't even ask about those places.
International,
They don't even ask about
or
it.
here, Tahoe. They were wonderful trips. Don't get me wrong. Everything fine dining, we've had it, but they have not said, when are we going back?
Right.
Have you noticed that?
They haven't even asked.
They haven't, but this one they're asking, and they know that the connection was made, and it's like, Nana, Papa, my mommy and daddy, when are we going back? You said then. I want to go back. I want to go back home, and it's so crazy that this filtered all the way down to the young babies.
There's a connection because our ancestral genetic heritage
Yes.
is tied to the African continent.
Yeah.
And Yahweh put that in those children for a reason, to let us see that He is in those little bodies, requesting to go back home, where Africa, is the cradle of life.
The cradle of life. And then people are saying that, well, there's not, you can't go there, if you don't have a job. There may be limited jobs, and as Africans, and we talked to a lot of the South Africans where they're working, they, the cool thing about them, they stay in their villages,
Right.
and that's, we're learning the culture. We learned it there because we had really good people that we've connected with now. We're talking to on a regular basis from there, as well as we are also looking, if you don't have a job, there's plenty of opportunity to develop
Right.
a business.
Yes.
I've been in business since I started my business when I was 27. So, and I don't know anything else but business. And my
You
children
don't. You're
don't
an
know
excellent
anything else.
businesswoman.
And my business lasted, and I decided to close the doors 2 years ago, right after COVID.
Right.
That one business, but there were several businesses. We still are in business.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
I'm a published author. There's a 7-book series of books, and 2 of the books are right now on sale on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and all throughout
Right.
any of the stores. The Adventures of Low on the Go, and the other 5 will be published this year. We're in the illustrations right now, but they're already written.
Right.
And also, I'm an herbalist, and we have an herbal store, the Herbal
We do.
Triage. The Herbal Triage. I'm a licensed herbalist and have been a certified herbalist for over 25 years, and that was something that I did and consults with my own center, because I had my own practice. There was never a need to go outside of that other than family members.
Right.
But what I see the relationship is, I'm going to talk about something culturally.
Right.
Because for me, everyone was saying do more, but for me, I had a village. I opened up the center in the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Right.
I went back and bought that property after going through a divorce. And I bought that property with 2 children because I didn't want anyone else to raise my children and have the final say. So I wanted to be able to be there with their academics and when they're going to school. But the reasons were, and I changed my major in college to childcare. Long story short, moving 35 years forward, the payoff for me was the education is still going on.
Right. And it is.
And it's going on not just in the children, but also I got a chance to teach my own grandchildren in the center and outside of the center. And now is teaching through the world. And I had an opportunity when we went to Africa to be able to present through my son-in-law, who is also retired NFL legend, Steven Jackson. And he had some different things that he was doing with business, and he had his nonprofit, and also my daughter's company, Cora Consulting. They went over and they had a couple of engagements to do, and also in Cape Town prior to that.
Which included you.
Yes, which included me, and I was able to do my book tour and go to a couple of schools and read the book. But for me, connecting there, I've read my book lots of times, but to be able to go to the motherland
Internationally.
to
the African continent.
to the African continent and read to those kids, it was something that, and my grandchildren got a chance to participate, and my oldest little granddaughter actually ask questions in the classroom, which blew me away. That was something. That's two of the books. Adventures of Lo on the Go goes to North America, and Lo goes to Africa. Africa was written first, but believe it or not, for some reason with the publishing, the hardcover did not come out until actually 1 week ago. The soft cover was there, the paperback, but Logos to Africa was printed first, and for somehow the typo errors in it, and I went to a professional editing company. They got mixed in, and we won't talk about how things can happen. The devil is always busy, but
Always.
Yahweh has the victory. The book came out, and it was fine in the end. I had to do the corrections on it, and sometimes we have to take a bump to get to even know that you have to check and recheck everything as a people.
Right.
I've always known that in my business, and this is the new business of being just an author and publishing and going forward to the world, that you have to even do more research
Right.
and check and recheck. So I don't mind it. I'm up for it, and I was just happy that we were able to present this at the beginning of the Cradle of Life, where we started from.
Right.
And our grandchildren be a part of that, you know. But for us, going to Africa is not just a dream, it's a reality, because we did go, and now the reality is to how and when we will actually be able to make that a part of our new home for the future. And that's what we're working on. This is
You want
our
to
son-in-law.
do a clip
Yeah,
right
you
here
can
and
do
let
the
them
clip
listen
if
to
you'd
it?
like to listen to the clip.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. You are so beautiful and so handsome. I'm so glad to be here today with you.
I don't see your name on the board,
Yeah.
Valerie.
Believe it or not, I had a school like this in North America, in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I had children just like you. So I'm a teacher also for 35 years. I taught kids, I love children, and I always want to work with your mind and your imagination. So this is my book. It's called The Adventures of Lo on the Go. And these are my grandkids, so they have the books. They have the characters to the book. That's Lo, and that's the other character. His name is Herb. So we're going to meet them in this book, okay?
Right.
There's two books I have. The one that's from Africa, that Lo looks
That's all he
like.
talks about football.
And today I'm going to read
After
you
13 years playing.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, so we're going to use our imaginations. Make sure you turn on your minds, because we're going to read from this book, and we're going to think about all the wonderful things that we can really see, okay?
Okay, that's story time then. Even though it's not according to the timetable line. So you go and sit down and listen to the story, fold your legs. Alright, don't run. Short ones in front. Don't push. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, very much so.
Fold your legs.
And it was so wonderful.
Listen carefully.
Our son right here. And
Okay, so we're going to start with the This book is dedicated to my grandchildren, Journey. That's Journey right here.
So just know what you are doing. Listen to the story.
Arnold right there. That's Jax. And my oldest two, Skylar and Kingston in the back. Okay? And I wanted them to know, as they made their lives all the way filled with the journey, and made their life have many adventures, and may your Yahweh always keep you, his hands upon you. Yes. So we wanted to be blessed, and we wanted to bless you with the story today. So this is the story book. And we'll begin.
so as you can see,
Lo was lying in the grass in her backyard, and she looked at
and our son,
her very best friend is right here.
the real estate agent, we all had things that we needed to do and wanted to do, but we kind of got a chance to delve into all of the areas.
It was
my
phenomenal.
husband being the photographer and videographer, you know, he was in his glory. The only thing he was upset over because he did not bring,
His drone.
well, he did bring his drone, but he bought the play one. I know, I understand. He bought the one because we weren't sure what customs was going to do, because when we were going to Mexico, you know, in customs they can do anything that they want.
In
Yeah,
Mexico.
let's be honest. Any of them, if they say
Yeah.
you can't have it, you can't have it.
Right.
They decided to take one of his
Tripods.
tripods and said,
$20 tripod
yeah,
from
and the guy
Walmart.
said, this is not allowed. All we could do is say, okay, you know. So he didn't want that to happen to this real expensive drone that he has here.
Exactly.
And he's very skilled at using that one. So he said, I'm just going to get this little cheapy one and take this one, but it'll work.
So you get some aerial footage of Africa, include into our editing. So
That didn't work out
it didn't
well.
work out well.
It didn't work out well at all.
Drone took off
No.
maybe 10 feet in the air,
Yeah.
ran into the trees, and it didn't work anymore.
And it became the kid's toy for a
Became the
moment.
kid's toy. Yeah.
They were talking about the best season to travel. Now, as you can see, and I don't know if you have any videos to show us in the weather and how it is there, but they were saying the best time to visit South Africa is between May and September, the cooler months. Now, for us, we went in November, and they said November could be very rainy. So I'm going to tell you, do your own homework again. We did go, and we went November the 22nd
We did.
till December the 2nd, I believe.
It was overcast there.
It was overcast on some days.
Yeah, on a safari
And-
where we went. So
Yeah, and I think we had one day of rain, maybe.
yeah,
One day it wasn't rain; it was like a sprinkle the night before. But this is on the safari, and that was probably the biggest overcast that we had, which was beautiful because it burned
Right.
off. The overcast was like kind of like California, The overcast was there; it wasn't cold, but you had that overcast in the morning, and then that evening, you wanted to try to take off anything that you had that was heavy because it was so nice.
right.
But the weather was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And we're out in the open country on lion safari right now.
We are.
On a
Rhino
game,
lion,
A
right.
game. A
Right.
game safari.
Game safari.
Yeah, to see the big five there
Preserve,
and
yeah.
preserve, and we got a chance to see all of this. And we had that whole tram. This was a private tour that we had, so nobody was on it but us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. You don't have to go with groups. We didn't want another group. We were a group.
Right. 14 of us.
14 of us. So, everything that we did, we didn't go in a group. I don't mind groups at all. And because the next time we go, we probably will go with
Be
a
with
group,
a group,
if
yeah.
our children are not going. But we had our own group, and we had our own tour guides. We had our own driver, and, everything about that. It was wonderful. They have different things there in South Africa with the seasons, music festivals. There's places close by people go to, Cape Town and Durban.
Right.
Those are key spots for different things, and everyone has something different to offer. Cape Town is, you're going to get more of that. I would say that ocean feel and
Right.
a beach town.
Yes.
With a lot of retired older people.
Like a LA type of beach. Type of
More
thing.
more conservative, and we haven't been
Yeah.
yet. But from what I'm told, it's very, it's more sterile,
Mhm.
and it's nice, it's clean, it's beautiful. And it's gorgeous. You're gonna love that.
Right.
But at the same time, Joburg is more of the metropolitan type.
Yes, it
But
is.
then there's outskirts where we were.
Mhm.
That's absolutely, I would call it the countryside of,
Yes.
of Johannesburg
Right.
that we really enjoyed, and the city. So you had the best of both, and we're looking forward to seeing Durban too. So like I said, so there's so much to include in saying, people are asking the question: is it better to fly into Johannesburg or Cape Town? For me, I wanted to go into Johannesburg because it was wonderful to see a lot of our own people. When you fly into Cape Town, you may not see as many.
Right.
And for us to fly in and get the feel of the vibe, the culture, to see if you are welcome or not, or all of the lies and the
Exactly.
fallacies that you feel. For me, it was perfect. I don't say that I won't go to Cape Town.
Right.
But for me, going back to Joburg was definitely, Johannesburg was everything that I wanted to gravitate to. Cape Town has a lot of things for nature lovers,
It do.
too. And so does Joburg. So,
Mhm.
it just depends on what you're looking for. And so does Durban. And I'm not going to pronounce it right, but
Limpopo.
Limpopo,
Mhm.
yes. But all of these places, they're wonderful. So we just have to figure out, what's going to be next, who's going to be next, and how we're going to do it. But we're definitely going back.
Mhm.
For you, they said the coldest months are in, what's the coldest month in Africa?
July.
Is it July?
July. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So now, if that's the coldest month,
Mhm.
what do you think the weather is like? Is it like Las Vegas or?
It's kind of odd because in July here it's burning up, 114, 117 degrees. In July in Africa, African July is winter.
Yeah, and they said
You
it's
have
like,
40 degree days
yeah.
are normally sunny and
Right.
and pleasant.
Yeah.
Right. Hmm.
And if they are pleasant though, but I'm saying right now, what's today's temperature that we have here?
Uh, at the current time,
It's probably, you think, have we made it to the 60s, you think?
no, I can tell you just right now what our temperatures are. We are
Yeah.
at mm,
So I believe that just like right now,
58 degrees.
58,
Right.
and the
Mhm.
sun is shining today, as you can see right now. I'm not really worried about a cold. I know that they say every now and then they get a little snow. I wouldn't mind that because it's so beautiful. And if we think Las Vegas is beautiful now, they have a beautiful season too. And YouTube is my best friend. I watch a lot of them in the wintertime just to see if people are moving around and stirring and doing things. And I find that people are still out. They're still enjoying themselves. They're still doing whatever, having family get togethers. They're going to restaurants. They're
Right.
going to different things. They have a festival. Festival season just ended, some type of right during the holidays. They
Right.
have all of these different things. It's so much to learn.
It's almost like Mardi Gras
Yeah.
in Louisiana.
You know what I'm thinking to myself? I liken it to say that all of the history that we say we're going to do in our own U.S. and we go from place to place, city to city, finding out what's the culture. We have all of that to do in 54 countries.
Yes.
So there's quite a bit, and we have a window that we are trying to fulfill before we are not traveling a lot anymore to be able to do these things. So for me, it's very important, and I think a lot of the seniors are saying that retirement. If you're going to travel, I have 54 countries to discover.
Right.
That's all about me and our heritage and legacy of that we're leaving behind. That I would like to enjoy and possibly write about
Right.
and to know about. So there's a lot of work. My husband is once again, as I said, he loves to film, and he does all types of documentary videos, and he's wonderful with it. And that's his passion too. And so his camera is his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that we're besides discovering the plants and the species, and I've just gotten into a lot of the Jamaican herbs and the African herbs as well. But the history of the true healers,
Right.
the spiritual portions of that, is amazing. And as you can see in the restaurant, this place is just a restaurant, and I don't know the name of this one. Do you remember the name
Yes.
of this one?
Truffles.
Oh, is this Truffles?
Yes,
Okay.
Truffles.
So the restaurant in the middle of the day, you see, and this is in November, we're all nice and casual, comfortable, and it's nice and warm there. So this is November, and after November 22nd, after, Thanksgiving or around that time, and it's casual, it's beautiful, it's open air. I couldn't ask for a more beautiful place to be.
Right.
And that's not just that restaurant. Every place that we went to, taking the kids out to the open places was beautiful. And for me, that is totally naturally, and as we mentioned in last week's video, that's peace.
Right.
For me, that's a reason. Now, I want to talk about the dark side, the cons.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
Let's get to the cons.
Let's get to the cons.
And they said about the cons, because, this could be terrible and change your mind about it. They say that the crime rate in Africa, in Johannesburg, includes murder, rape, assault, food and drinking spikes, robberies, carjacking. And I know they were saying in Africa, period, that people just walk up and snatch your phones.
Right.
So in our 12 days, did you experience a lot of that? How much did you experience?
Not at all. Not at all.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Look.
Didn't a few people come up to you and just try to snatch your phone because you were elderly?
Look. You know what? I felt safer in Africa than I do right here in Las Vegas, and I'm not in America.
And you know what's so funny? We lock our doors 2 or 3 times. We do a check at nighttime. And there, I didn't even think about locking my bedroom door at night.
It wasn't locked.
It wasn't. We didn't even get up to do it. And were we being foolish and naive? No, because we knew
It wasn't
that we
locked.
were in a villa. But the thing was, it was so safe. The staff walked through the place, and it was beautiful. And again, I am not going to say to you that there is not crime, but I could take you to some places here in Las Vegas that will wipe you out, and you would be not just holding on to your purse, you would be trying to start the car up for me to get out of there because it's not the right place. And
It's
you know,
not.
and they have names. There's a whole bunch of names here in Las Vegas, and if you grew up in Las Vegas, you know them. Like, you don't go over there. You don't go over there in the daytime.
You know what? We have serial killers walking around in this country.
Yeah.
They estimate 150 serial killers are walking around the United States taking lives.
I get so sick of looking at this thing called Newsbreak every 5 minutes, and a lot of the crimes, they give you the local crimes. They just found a teenager, passed away, this young girl, 16.
Right.
inebriated, and they're trying to check into it. The week before that, another kid in
It's
a park
every
or in a
day
school, some
shootings.
child is getting molested in school. The teachers, there's something foul going on every day, and I'm not even talking about the government. So I'm not trying to cast stones and rocks at anybody.
Right.
And what I would tell you is that the crime and the violence there, I'm sure, just like we have the history of slavery.
Right.
They have this history of being colonized.
Exactly.
And both of these stigmas, I know for a fact that our Creator has made us to come together, and we're going to overcome every one of these.
Yes, we are.
I feel that sure of that. That this is the time that the time has come that there will be togetherness that we've never seen before.
I believe it's happening now.
And it's happening globally.
Happening right
and
now.
if you travel, you're going to see that. And the thing is, on the flight, as I can say, there was only a few of us on those flights, and I'm seeing
No,
people of
sad.
melanin. And when I got there, I saw all of the people from different races, and I'm speaking them out: the Boers, the Portuguese,
The Dutch,
the Germans,
French,
the Asians, Chinese, and on those flights there was none of us. So I want to rectify that by being a voice to say that we need to do more of that. We're just, I love my family here, but my family needs to know that they have a home as well.
Right.
That we originated from. That's where we came. And when my husband is showing scenes of this garden, and this is where we were staying in our villa, I literally wanted to kiss the ground. And I smelled that earth. It was different. Everything about
the air was different.
The air was different. Everything about Africa, and I'm sure it resonates with everyone when they go home to their country.
Right.
Because you don't understand that. We've never experienced that until you go home to where you came from. And is everybody going to greet you that way? Absolutely not.
No.
We saw some people that were turned off, and we were turned off by them. At a few places we went to a riverfront, and there were some of the vendors.
Oh,
but
yeah,
they weren't
that was
nice.
the-
They weren't nice to themselves or anybody else.
The farmer's market.
Farmers
Yeah.
market, right? And they were just, and it wasn't so much as you. You can just tell they were down on their luck. Maybe they needed money. You're going to find that wherever you go, but you still have to. It's your job to be a light wherever you go, and do your part. And
Right.
we were able to find that we were being a light. And would I be tired of that and saying, well, you know what, you can't be a light all the time? Well, it's time for me to stay home.
Exactly.
Whether my home is there or here,
Right.
it's time for me to do something different, because the world is going to always have people like that. But when you can actually see yourself
Right.
in that world, to see where you came from, to be able to tell your children, to have a plan and a hope for a future.
Right.
I saw the future. The
Me
future
too.
is Africa.
Oh, yes.
The future is Africa. And yes, there is crime, but the crime is nothing like we have here. I saw the most gentlest people that were gentle and very respectful towards everyone.
Yes.
They were so respectful, it made me angry because they didn't even need to be that way. It reminded me of slavery.
That's what I felt like.
And
I said,
I wanted them to speak out.
I
You
felt
don't have to say
embarrassed at
that.
the airport, but the thing was, the embarrassment was a reverence, a blessing.
Right.
How we were greeted at the airport, how we're not respected here in America, as Africans in America. We're not.
Right.
But when we came to the continent, where there was more of us, and how we were greeted and treated, we were elevated from being like down on the floor to up in the heavens. So that's the way I felt.
Right. Well, that was the so-called con, because they said about the carjacking, and I'm not saying that. We didn't drive our own cars. We had drivers. So what I would say to anyone, when you're visiting South Africa, surround yourself with good people.
Yes,
that are
that's a
knowledgeable,
must. That's
that
a
are
must.
knowledgeable
Yeah.
about where you're visiting. Finding out reputable people, not someone that had a hookup for 2-for-1. If you're doing that kind of thing, then you might as well stay where you are, because your mentality is not to be able to. You want to have a bad story.
Right.
You want to have a bad ending. I'm not going to go in any little dim places. I'm not trying to go out in the middle of the night. And even our children weren't trying to go out in the middle of the night to go off into the city and wander off and say, hey, let me just be wild and crazy, and I don't know anything.
Right.
That saying that fools rush in where
Well, angels fear to tread.
dare to tread.
Yeah.
Use common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, common sense is not common to everyone, but you need to use common sense wherever you are.
Right.
If you see you're in some horrible place right here in the city and you need to go to the bathroom and you see a bunch of degenerates hanging around it, are you going to go in there? No. You're going to say, I would rather on myself if I need to, but I'm not going to do that because I could possibly lose my life.
Right.
And if you're around a bunch of crowded people and you're in some kind of a mall, I wouldn't have anything on me. I do that when I go to Mexico. I do that wherever I go, any place that I'm going to at least protect myself, make sure that I know where I'm at, make sure that my phone is available. Make sure that my driver or whoever it is someone that's safe and they're with me.
Right.
So it's the same protections that you would use any other place. But did I see, and I felt almost crazy doing it because there was no reason even to do what we did.
Exactly.
And they were saying the rolling blackouts, every day load shedding happens. And load shedding in this modern cities and any place that you're going to be at, what happened?
But you know, to say this, that's how Africa is portrayed as an undeveloped country.
Yes, an undeveloped
because they
countries.
can't keep electricity on. Thousands of times a day across the United States, people are reporting they have no electricity. That's
Right.
That's load shedding.
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
right.
just looking at their TV and all of a sudden their electricity go off. Don't know what the cause is, but in America we don't speak of things like that. But we want to talk about a continent that we want to try to keep people from going to when we used to be told back in the 50s and 60s, why don't y'all go back home?
Right.
Now there's such an emergence of African Americans going from all over the world back to Africa.
Right.
And now it's like, let's raise the ticket prices so they can't go back home.
Well, we did see a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
We did see a lot of people from Europe traveling, and we do a lot of what did you call that when they're doing on-road traveling? Onboarding or
Overlanding.
overlanding.
Overlanding,
So
yeah.
we saw a lot of, because we wanted to get into overlanding. We saw so many overlanders, and you'll look at videos, and these are Europeans. They're going on dirt back roads, not speaking the language, and
In their Rubicon Jeeps.
not even just Rubicon
Yep.
Jeeps. I've seen some people that are trailblazing on bicycles.
Yes.
And
Yes.
tricycles.
Yep.
And making documentaries and with the locals and going, and these people are not afraid. And here they have us as a people, and you got a whole family and got your big grandson with you and everybody else is carrying a machete.
Right.
And you're afraid to go.
So carrying a machete, huh?
I mean, or I could say Glock.
Yeah, right.
But you're not going to take a gun to another country.
And that's
But
another thing. They don't have people just carrying
They don't
guns and
carry
shooting
guns.
up
No.
venues.
No,
and
the police.
Right.
And then they say, well, the police are corrupt. They will, you know what? They've learned habits too, just like us. We have bad habits.
Yes.
Our police, I'm scared that they will kill our men.
Right.
Or us. They just want a few coins if they can. And
Give me a little scratch.
Yeah, because that's something that they think. I mean, they don't even, because they haven't been educated that way. They think that that's okay because Americans have money, and an American is, whether you're African American or a white American, you're an American.
Right.
And they think that we should, just be able to grease their palms a little bit. But that's not, for them, that's not a major crime. But the load shedding thing, I was in fear because I kept thinking things are just going to go out. And, when the load shedding would happen there, all you would see is just like you blink your eyes because the generator would kick on.
Kick on, right. Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying that that's true in every rural part where they will go and film and do a 2-hour documentary
Right.
in some place that's so far out, because we could take that same documentary and take it to some of the streets that we know here.
Right.
And we could do the same thing and show people in there with crack pipes. People here that are letting their babies stay at home all day long. I just saw a story that this little 2-year-old died, and it's just terrible because they were
Horrific.
locked up
Yeah.
in a place. And so I'm saying we have horrific stories around this world.
We do.
And for us to be a better people, I think the best thing that we could do is go home. And we've been told to go home so many times. Go home. Even
Right.
if you don't stay there, get the connections that's needed. So there is now a migration, the great migration, where we're learning from one another. We've learned from everyone else in this world, but we
Right.
haven't learned from our own people.
That's true.
And it's time.
That's true.
And so for me, the things that they were saying about the crime and the cons, the other con is that the load shedding, and then they said that they would snatch your phones. And the other thing was that people were saying things take too long.
Right.
They take a long time because they do have fast food restaurants there, but they don't cook a lot.
Right.
They
don't go to them a lot.
they don't go to them a lot, I should say. More Americans probably do than anyone. But they are still in the tradition of making good, fresh foods.
Right.
The restaurants. And they cook, and you can tell the difference. We didn't gain a pound when we were there, and we ate every 2 or 3 hours, and the food was delicious and healthy. So the things that they're saying are negatives, you have to check them out for yourselves. You can always say, I'm going to be on the most cautious side. I would tell you to do that. I wouldn't want anyone to go in to experience something differently. But when you're on that positive side, go and venture and do those things, and then judge for yourself before you let
Right.
the news or the media or someone tell you what you see on Google that is unsafe, because it is not. Is it safe to go to Africa now? What would you say?
It is. extremely safe.
Yes.
I mean,
And
you would. I didn't have a worry. You know,
didn't have a worry.
I wasn't anticipating, not only because of my race, that was that was invisible because you had everyone looking like you.
Yes.
But didn't worry about police just coming up to you, harassing you. They don't do that in Africa.
Yes.
You know, there's going to be a reason. If they stop you, there's going to be a reason why they stop you. And it's not something you have to fear that if they stop you, they may kill you. So I think the thing is that we're learning that when you're in Africa, you can relax as a person. And as my wife said, there were Dutch and there were French and
the Chinese.
Chinese. Everybody's in Africa, the Russians. But even they have to realize they know how to act in Africa.
Yes.
They're not going to get too crazy over there because they know there's millions. I thought the estimate was over 40 million Africans on that continent. Now, you got to be kind of crazy to go over there and think, well, I'm going to take your land and your gold. And they're doing that.
Right.
But they're also getting something back. They're building a more modern continent of Africa. And that's why you have all those beautiful buildings over there.
Yes.
There's a trade-off. You know, the chiefs and the kings, if you're going to come in our country, you're going to build our country up and you're going to have some of our minerals.
And
See?
I want to leave you one other thing
Right.
too before we get out of here is that what I've learned is too, and this is through. I did find out and do my African DNA, and my husband is about to do his. Mine was done. My daughter gifted that to me last year. So Timmy.
Hey, Victor, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Victor.
Yeah, Victor is helping me with eCam on
Okay.
Facebook.
Hi, Victor.
Yep.
How are you?
Yep.
And so I learned that I was from the Timmy and the Timmy tribe, and I'm happy to from the Sierra Leone region and some other things I need to just start to check into. But, you know, I feel that we're all a tribe, and that's one thing that Africa for Africa is really pushing for, is that Africans for Africans, wherever you are, all over the world, there's no such thing as you saying whether we were bought by the transatlantic slave
Right, we were.
trade, we know that, but there's Africans all over the world, and we're realizing as people, culturally, we're all melanin skin, and we're the
Right.
same people. And it's time to join in on the new revolution of changing,
Right.
to learn to embrace your people, to be an asset to your people, and starting with yourself. If each one of us would take on that, to say that I'm going to be an asset
Right.
wherever I am, I'm going to learn more, to push the buttons to say, I can do this.
Right.
You know, whatever you are, you to give your knowledge, your expertise, your wisdom as an elder, what you've been through. Every story deserves to be told.
I think so.
Every story
And it's being
deserves to
told
be
now.
told now, and it's being told now. So don't think that there's not a place for you.
Right.
I'm too old. I'm too young. There is a place under the sun on this earth, and it starts with us going home and connecting the dots back to our people.
I think so.
I think
In fact,
we-
I know so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we might be running out of time, but we just want to tell you again, no mission is impossible.
No mission is impossible.
And we can do all things through Yahshua, who gives us the strength.
Right.
And my husband is going to tell you his favorite saying.
Get busy living or get busy dying, but you can't do both. And before we go, I want to let you know why we are so blessed to have Africa in our heart. In our house, when we bought this house, we didn't realize that the pattern of Africa was stamped right on our front door. Every time it would rain,
Yeah.
this form of the continent of Africa, and you can see that for yourself. And it went unnoticed for a while until one day I was out there doing something in front, and I said, honey,
You were gardening in our Garden of Eden.
right,
Front
in
door.
Eden, because that's where Eden is, in Africa. On our front door as we come out is the continent of Africa. Now, you wouldn't see that when it wasn't wet by the irrigation system right by the front porch. But now it has etched in because of the calcium deposit left. You can see that even if the water wasn't there, it's the shape of Africa.
And so our other YouTube channel is our back to the number 2 Eden
Urban Homestead.
And the name was there even before my husband discovered this. And it's so amazing. And the same thing, before he met me, I had written the book, Logos
To Africa.
So we know we have a destiny.
Right.
I don't know what your story is, but we know that's our story.
Yes.
And we know it's our truth.
Yep.
And so connecting these dots back, as well as sharing it with our family and friends that are here in the U.S., we want to connect those dots back, and we want to continue. We're not saying we know everything, but we're definitely on a journey to learn more. And we ask you to continue to join with us, and be sure to like, and subscribe to our channel and make comments, anything that you might want to see or hear about in our adventures and getting ready for this next trip back to Africa. We have a whole checklist of things that we're checking out now, and we have people on the ground that are checking out things for us now. Well, there's a big difference, and we're going to talk about that on our next, maybe on our next upcoming video or the next ones that we're talking about living.
Right.
We were looking at Stein City at first, and then we were looking at a few other places, and I won't name. But then I started realizing that there people live, and they live in their villages. So village living, as far as me being an African in America, you know what the villages remind you of?
What's that, honey?
The villages are no different, and I want to say this to all Africans that are in Africa, if you hear this. So our villages in America, I want you to know, and I know that Yahweh gave this to me.
Right.
Our villages in America have been our churches.
Yes.
That was our sanctuary. And then we would have things that we call them reunions, family reunions.
Right.
And the family reunions would get together, and then we would remind, because we would get all the generations together and have this big celebration of cooking and food, and the elders tell stories, and you find out what that old aunt did and that one did before, and who, and there was a lot of exchange of culture.
Right.
But also we kept these communities, because before there was integration, there was segregation.
Right. That's
And
right.
the segregation meant that we kept our culture because we had our villages. You call them villages, and we had communities here in the States, and those were our neighborhoods. We had black schools, we had black, and they said black, and the word was black or Negroes back in the day.
Right.
But, you had that teacher that would come by and eat at your house, and you would feed them.
Right.
You had the preacher that would come by your house, they would give you counsel,
Right.
and you would feed them. These cultural communities existed. They no longer exist. Now, do we
They
have
don't.
churches? Yes. They're all out, and we're all out. We're all in different areas. But the thing is, our children have been done the disservice of the connection.
Yeah.
The connection is lost. So their culture is a cross culture of everything that they see on TV, everything they see one of the quote unquote stars doing. And that is not what we wanted for our children and our grandchildren. That is something that I don't want my children imitating some rapper or star.
Right.
No disrespect if you went to see a show, but the admiration should be there in their culture.
Exactly.
And what they've learned.
Exactly.
And this is the true meaning of what our Creator. I never stray away from the Bible being the truth. It's the way that the Bible has been
Right.
manipulated
Right.
and has been turned into a target for certain cults of people, so they
Right.
would be ahead. Because if
To
we
mass
ever,
population.
if we ever looked at the oldest Bible, the Ethiopian Bible,
Right. It's the oldest one.
you would find truths.
Right.
But we don't. We look at the one with the King James, which is the tutor,
Right.
the English king.
Right.
And how could that be the truth?
Right.
And I'm not saying there's not truths there, but the words were manipulated, translated
They were.
erroneously,
Right. Yep. Transliterated.
transliterated. That's the word I want.
Wrongly.
Wrongly.
Right.
And it was for gain,
Right.
wealth, and to do deceit.
Exactly.
So the truth is coming out now, and you have a lot of people searching for the truth, but also as the elders, we must stand up while we're here. We must stand up to say things because we're still here and we can still tell our story.
Hallelujah.
And it's worth it.
Very well
so
said.
join us again. I'm so glad that you were with us this week. And again, please help us to continue with our videos. Like
Subscribe.
and smash that subscribe button
And leave your comment.
and leave your comment.
Let us know what it is that you want to talk about, what issues you want to talk about. No trolling, because we'll send you to the cornfield.
We are definitely going to send you. Look. We don't play that. We are not wimps, and we are not going to be disrespected because we're not going to disrespect you.
Exactly.
And you know what? We love people. We love all people.
All races of people.
All races of people. And I love them dearly. But I also hold to my truths. I want them to hold to their truths, and we should be able to hold to ours so we can be equal and walk through this life together.
Right.
And until next time.
Get busy living or get busy dying, but you can't do both.
That's right.
And don't try it.
That's right.
All
Take
right.
care.
All right, guys. Take care. Next time I'll have some bloopers.
Why do you say that?
Little bloopers.
Okay, we can have some bloopers.
Yeah. All right, guys, take care.
Bye-bye.